Okay, I think I'm live. I'm not too sure if I'm live. Greetings all. Just gonna do a quick bit of housekeeping. My name is Will. Welcome to the channel. This is William's C# walkthroughs, and in today's agenda, I have something somewhat exciting that we're gonna go through. So I'm just gonna quickly share my link on a couple handles, and then we're gonna dive right in. If you've been keeping up with the series, you'll know that I've been focusing on XAML UI, and I've been using a couple of references, if I'm not mistaken. I'm gonna bounce off some of the stuff I've been doing. Let me know if the levels are okay, if anyone's watching this live. Just gonna update my link. So you can find this. And double check that's there. Okay, no problem. Just off screen, just double checking my link is okay. So yeah, I'm gonna be using as a reference. If you saw some of my promo for this particular stream, you'd know that we're gonna be looking at an e-storefront, and I think it's gonna be quite exciting. Got quite a nice looking reference to go through. See if I can just get this to work. Just share my handle now. Nearly done. This won't take too long. Sorry about this. It's a little bit of housekeeping on the screen. Take me about 1 or 2 minutes. Okay, just gonna update this. And I'm gonna make sure this is updated. Excellent. Nearly done, guys. No, I keep saying that. Let's see. Make sure this other link is online. Doesn't seem to be showing. I'm not too sure why, but it shouldn't be a problem. I'll have to edit that later. I'll do it one more time. Maybe I just didn't paste it properly. That's it. It's done. Save my resources. Alright, sorry about that, guys. Hey there, my name is Will, and we're gonna just dive straight in. So basically, do excuse me, if you have seen some of the work I've been doing over the past week, I've been primarily looking at a lot of XAML stuff. Now, just to give us a little bit of a recap, I'm going to show you what I was working on, which I did put on my LinkedIn. Hopefully this is the right build. And this is just a very simple XAML-based front, which I'm thinking I might release it as a free XAML theme pack on my website. So do stay tuned for that. As you can see, there's a simple carousel movement going on via this animation. So there's a bit of C# logic in play there. Got myself this kind of landing page theme going on, kind of such web app sort of concept app idea, I guess. Just a concept, and the idea is that you're supposed to press this button to bring up search results, but it just works in a placeholder fashion. So when I click it, it just takes me to another screen. So not exactly any kind of feature product ready application, but it's just a proof of concept mainly for the XAML. I've got here a little banner, text, and this map control, which I actually think is quite neat. I quite like this control. It's quite nice. Thought it'd be quite fun to implement that in here, and this is fairly responsive thanks to the fluid integration into the XAML, as I've actually explained in some of my prior videos. So we're not gonna spend too much time on this right now. That was a quick recap from last time. I'm just gonna check off screen. Excellent, everything's good. Hopefully the levels are fine. So what we're going to do, I'm going to get the reference for today. Now, today's reference should be quite exciting. I was quite inspired by this Microsoft storefront. Really like how it looks. When you really decompile it, when you eyeball it and kind of decompile what is here, I think I'm on the gaming section, it's quite interesting. You notice a few things. So this could be, in my mind at least, I'm thinking, overarching grid containing a box, as you may know by now what I kind of like to do, how I like to approach things. And if you look at things at a very high level, I can probably break down this user interface into a key format. Overarching grid, view box, and I'm thinking in this particular case, for every view box, I could go the approach of having stack panels, horizontal stack panels, and multiple view boxes. So it will all make sense when I go into the XAML, because what I see here, I see layers, right? You have this banner, and then you have this carousel, and this is all very general, and then you have this kind of best-selling feature carousel, which I think is a manual one, or it's not even a carousel, it's just a little featured banner with individual cards. And as you scroll, you can kind of browse. There's a bit of a format here: banner, banner, cards, banner, cards, and at the bottom you have like collections, as it says here. So I'm going to be using this as a little bit of a template to help me to kind of clone, quote unquote, this kind of design. Excuse me. And yeah, we're going to get started on this fairly soon. This is going to be off screen for most of the time, so I can be following this. I only have so much space on my screen. I quite like this navigation bar on the left as well. I like the curvature. Microsoft seems to be implementing a lot of this curved design and a lot of the UI, a bit of a departure from some of the older themes. Any of us who have grown up in the XP days, like myself, Windows 2000 days, there's kind of this embracing of this curvature. It's kind of more soft on the eyes. I quite like it myself. And without much further ado, let's get started. Let's get straight to this. I'm going to put this off screen. Just going to put it at a reasonable size right now. Have a little bit of an agenda as well on the notepad, as you can hopefully see on the right. I'm going to zoom in onto the XAML markup. I realized some of my previous videos, the markup is really hard to read. I'm just going to minimize this, and hopefully if there's any crashing, if there's any loss of connection, I'm going to just reboot the stream as I had to do with the last video. Is in 2 parts. Hopefully that might not be necessary. I'm not too sure how long this walkthrough is going to be. It might be just as long as the other one, maybe even more. We're going to see what happens with time. So I thought to myself, the first place I would like to start, at least, I kind of like working with 100% resolution. So if you kind of look here, the initial target resolution is set at 200% scale. Personally, I either work at this scale, if not, I quite like the 100% scale. So it's still 13, well, it's close. This one's 13.5-inch Surface Book target, but what I like is the 13.3-inch desktop target at 720p. I find it is kind of more reasonable, although you don't really see much of a difference when you're designing a desktop app for this particular scenario. 13.3 versus 13.5 is quite a minimal difference, but I kind of just like the idea of 100% generally, as opposed to compensating for 200%. It doesn't really make a difference when you're making a markup that much. Hopefully that all is quite consistent. So we've gone ahead and we set that. Let's kind of keep things tracked. Now I would like to start here. I'm not gonna mark that off just yet. I'm gonna start with a view box. So let's go ahead and add a view box. I don't really like using the toolbox, as you may have realized from my previous video. I just find that writing the markup kind of helps your muscle memory a little bit and helps you to think about what you're designing rather than relying on the drag and drop functionality. But sometimes it is necessary. You do need to use that. I use both in together, and also save space just not having the toolbox open all the time. Let's see. So I'll call this landing page view box. And in essence, what I like to do here, because view boxes usually contain only one child element, you can use a container such as a stack panel, such as a grid inside a view box to circumvent that limitation. if I want to have, say, separate pages, so if I go back to this Microsoft storefront, you see if I click I'm on the gaming section. If I click apps, it's loading and it takes me to another part of the front. So basically, in order to create that effect, I have to use multiple view boxes. So I'm going to start with just the landing page part. Okay, let's go ahead and give it a name. Hopefully it's easy to read. I'm going to quickly check on my OBS just to make sure the resolution is fairly readable. I think that's okay. Let's call this main landing page VB for VBox. And we're going to go ahead and give it some dimensions. Let's say height 1,200. I think that's, no, let's go for 1,000. Not even, okay, 900. Just want to kind of uniform it to the page itself. I'm just going to drag it at this point. Okay, sitting flush there, but I don't know what it is, which kind of bugs me. So I'm just going to go ahead and just take a guess in the dark. Height 700. Oh, it's quite close. Let's leave it at 700 for now. Width. It looks a little longer than 700, so I'm going to go and guess at 800. Not 9. 1,000. 1,002 maybe. I think it'll be 1,003. I'm not too sure. 1,003 looks just about okay. Fairly okay. Okay, now going back to this reference, what I would like to implement first, I kind of like to work at a top-down approach. So I'm going to add a stack panel. Now my clone is not going to be a one-to-one representation, I think. Time will not really allow me for that. I don't want to keep this live stream going on for too long, but I'll do my best to keep it fairly resemblant of the reference. So let's go ahead and add a stack panel. So I'm going to go to my view box. I'm going to just opt to expand it. Okay, that's fine. I'll click something else. I tend to have this habit of saving my work, Control S all the time. And I'm going to go ahead and add an initial stack panel. That's a good idea. Let's keep it expanded. Gonna put some commenting just to help with what we're doing here. Let's call this main landing page. Let's actually, you know what? Be a little bit more specific. Main feature reel stack panel. I think that's kind of cool. And then I'll go ahead and name this feature reel SP for stack panel. We'll give it some dimensions. Now, looking at the reference, I'm going to be going back and forth from this. I don't want to keep it on the screen because of space. This stack panel has to kind of go the width of the screen. As I've outlined in my agenda here, at the bottom, I want to, towards the end rather, the latter half of the stream, I want to focus on browsing layouts. Is that what I'm looking for? Banner, heading, thumbnail. There's a part where I want to refine my design. So for example, towards the end, I'm looking at auto carousel, scrolling, parallax, and image fading. So all the kind of bells and whistles and the little details I'm going to do towards the end, hopefully. But now I just want to kind of get the overall layout in place. I've also got some placeholder assets in terms of images, controls in place. So let's set some dimensions. I'm going to go for the width first. Let's go for the width of the screen bar, a little bit of an offset for the navigation bar on the left. So maybe like 900 for the width. And it's not going to really show that height, right? So let's put a height of 400 just to bring it in. I hope it's okay for me to keep going back and forth like this. I keep going through, don't want to kind of distract this. But just so you guys can follow on. So I kind of want to have my stack panel overbearing here, leaving a little bit of space on the left. I like how the curvature kind of shows just on this top bit and it kind of fades out, goes down. So what I'm planning to do is the stack panel is going to encompass this heading for the feature banner, the image itself, and I might have to use another containing control just to overlay another like this kind of details section, or we can kind of get a little bit creative with that ourselves, take a few liberties. I think it wouldn't go amiss to consider the horizontal alignments. I tend to like working with horizontal alignments to the left, because when I start to play around with the resolution and stuff, it kind of just helps me out a little bit. And I'm going to set the vertical alignment to top, so kind of top and left rather than center. But sometimes it helps to have it straight in the center. Doesn't really make much of a difference, but I'm going to see if this actually assists me. So what I'll do, you know what actually might help? Let me set this to the right, because I want to give a little bit of leeway, and I'm going to reduce the width ever so slightly. Vertical alignment be on the top. Stack pan, where am I? Width. Let's see if I can reduce this. Very interesting why that's happening like that. Shouldn't be a problem. Let's get that scaled out fairly okay. A little bit of tweaking to do here. See if I can't anchor that. Let's play with these dimensions to quickly see how this pans. Would prefer to keep the containing view box as general as possible. Let's quickly see now. So it automatically reverts my horizontal alignment to center. Not a problem. Let's work with what we got. That's what I'm getting. So just to keep you guys in the loop, as you notice, when I stretch it out, it kind of contains within the bounds of its parent control, which is fine. It helps for the whole responsive uniform layout, even though I kind of wanted to break the bounds so I can just attach to the left a little bit. There are ways you can go about that. For now, I'm going to leave it as it is. Only issue being that it will kind of uniformly fill this, but that's fine. I'll deal with the navigation bar afterwards. So we've expanded our stack panel, and if I go back to our reference, I want to kind of put this image, but then I have to bear in mind it kind of parallaxes. So for now, let's just not complicate things. Let's put a image control. I was going to say button, but I think an image control worked better at the top. And then I will add a kind of carousel, set of carousel items here as well. So let's go ahead. Let's open a new tag. Let's have an image control. I'm going to have to import some images soon, but that should be a little bit later. Don't think I need to expand it. I'll keep it like that. Let's give it a name. Featured image. Let's call it. Now, I like to put the name of the control at the end. So featured banner image, like so. We'll give this some dimensions. So height, fairly reasonable. Let's say something like 400, maybe a little less than that. And I say 80. See what happens. 80. Width. See what happens with this. Okay, just want to check something there. So 900. It's too much. 700. And then we'll just bring it out. So it's nice to eyeball sometimes a little bit. Okay. Let's see if I can just round it to a nice whole number there. 140 might be decent. Making sure it fits. Yeah, 800 should be alright. Okay, just give us a little bit of an idea. Okay. I'm gonna quickly hop off screen because to save a little bit of time, I already have a bit of a carousel configuration. I might be able to find it on one of my other projects, the one I showed you at the beginning. See if I can find it. I can just copy and paste it to save time. Let's see, I've got something here actually. I like to contain my carousels in stack panels. I like to use the stack panel quite a lot, as you probably have noticed. I need to check the orientation of my stack panel as well, even though it's implied that it's vertical. I want to just imply it myself. I want to make a little bit of space here. See what we've got here. Okay, fascinating. So I've just quickly imported a set of controls that I use myself as a carousel. See if there's a visibility set, not quite. So I have my image and my stack panel. I'm going to check the margin properties. So as you can see, the margin properties are already set according to the project I just pulled this from. And as a result, my the top property, the margin top, is making a bit of padding here. So there's a bit of space between these controls. I'm going to go ahead and just set that to 0. And I prefer this. So there's no space in between as of right now. Just before we continue, just have to hop off screen. I'm just going to be right back. Let me see if I can quickly put a message so you guys know what's going on. I'll be 1 minute. And I am back. Sorry for the short interlude, guys. Let's place this back here. That looks fine. And let's continue where we left off, shall we? Excellent. So, where were we? Yes. So, what's going on here? I'm seeing some controls. Oh, yes, the carousel. On the right looked a bit like that. So, obviously, the carousel's looking a little bit big. So I'm going to just grab the parent control. And the cool thing is that usually the parent control would implicitly dictate the dimensions of the child controls, if I'm not mistaken. So let's have a look. In this case, it doesn't. It just clips, which is completely fine. We'll just do it all automatically. Automatically, more like manual. Manually. So, and I'm probably going to introduce a little bit of padding between the featured banner. Let me zoom in a little bit. And the carousel. Now it doesn't really have to clip per se. I'm going to contain it like this for now. Now the thing about this carousel, it's kind of manually operated like this. It slides. So I think there's two ways you can go about this. You can either implement it as this web front does with just a button, or I would like to save a bit of time and actually implement this in a scroll view. So what I will do, I will just within my above my stack panel rather, and let me just change this commenting. Say featured carousel control. I'm gonna just encapsulate my stack panel in a scroll viewer, like so. Expand it out. I'm gonna take the ending tag, put it at the bottom, like so. And thus we should have scroll viewing functionality. Some dimensions. Let's say featured scroll viewer. Give it a sensible height. Let's say like 100 to see how it looks. And let's give it a sensible width. Say 800 for now. I'm gonna zoom out. Invalid markup. Let's see what I got wrong. Must be to do with my tags. Let's close the tag there. There we go, fixed it. So let's go back. I'm gonna kind of keep with a light theme. I think a light theme is suitable for what I'm setting out to do, looking at the reference. Just gonna have a nosy at this. All right, so let's adjust some of these dimensions, shall we? Oh, that fits quite well. Let's say height 80, width 120 maybe. We can work with this for now. So I'm just setting the carousel items, which happen to be button controls, setting their general height width dimensions so they can sit rather snug on within the stack panel, which has a horizontal orientation, I believe. Should do at least. Let's double check that. Stack panel. It's implicitly implied, I think. Was implied, implicitly set, but let's see what happens. I don't know what happened. Let's have a quick look. If not, I'm just gonna literally leave it as it is. Okay, it's fine. So there's my stack panel with my images. My scroll view is here. Maybe I should set the horizontal alignment to the left. Let's see how this reacts. Is there a margin property? See if I can set that as close to 0 as possible. Oh yeah, of course, I did it wrong. So that's the wrong stack panel, so take that out. I actually want it in my, this is why I need to keep commenting. In my featured reel stack panel, I want the orientation to be horizontal here. It's probably already implied. Let me see. Yeah, it's already there. Horizontal orientation. How many buttons do I have here? We can kind of estimate how much we need. So I'm seeing about within the viewport 1, 2, 3, 4, and like 1 cropped out, which kind of implies this kind of what image is here to kind of entice me to keep scrolling. 1, 2, 3, 4 clear images on the viewport. 1 is slightly out of field of view. So let's kind of aim for that too. Got 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's add another button. I might even increase the width. These buttons seem a bit boxy. Oops. Let me just undo that because I want to grab this spacer text block as well. So I like to introduce a bit of padding via these spacers, and it looks like I've got something wrong with my markup. Let me just change the name, button 5, just fix that. Might just nudge this a little bit, even though it should be here, so I'll nudge the rest rather. Just so the tag spacing can be a little bit more consistent. Like so. And I'm gonna, you know what, I'm gonna have one more. So I think we have 6 items, I'm not too sure. Is that a bit of clipping I'm seeing? I'm not too sure. Looks like it. Just to check what it might be in a hot minute. So for now, so we can see what's going on, I'm going to... I don't think with images you can put a fill color or background. I'll just have to put the source straight in. Excuse me. I do have some places, but again, I'm just setting out the framework. So we have our scroll viewer here, and we have our featured reel. Let's have a quick look at our reference. So in the top part of the landing page, you kind of have focus on what's at the top here, and then you're kind of enticed to scroll down, which has 6 images here, 6 cards, and then you have like a little banner, a banner of cards, and then one overarching banner. That's kind of what's in this viewport here initially, which means it might not go amiss to just work so slightly extend this. I'm going to run this as well, just so we can have a quick view to make sure everything's looking consistent. And then underneath we have a heading and we have some cards. So what am I going to do? Well, I think if we look at our XAML markup, I'm going to zoom in slightly. Underneath the scroll viewer, let's add a featured apps. Let's make it games. I'm gonna pretend this is a gaming storefront. Featured games header. And I'm gonna do this with a text block. Don't need to expand it, I think. But I'll give it a name and some dimensions. Featured titles, TB text block. I'll actually put the block at the end just so we know, so it's not confused with text box. Speaking of which, I think I completely forgot about the search bar right at the top. We'll come back to that. So we've got a featured text block, give it a little height, say like 80. Make that actually like 40. And width. What's the screen width actually? Is it like 720 by any chance? Nearly. 800 is fine for now. And let's put some text there for some context. Oops. Text. Let's say games. No exclamation mark. Top games. I want to view this. I will actually reduce this to induce a little bit of padding. Reduce the size of the text block. Something like that. And underneath, I'm gonna want, you guessed, some more stack panels. It's pretty better controls you can use, but for the sake of simplicity and time, I'm gonna stick with stack panels. Featured games stack panel. Fairly similar to the carousel control, to the point where I could even reuse it, which wouldn't go amiss. Let me have a look, see. So it kind of resembles the carousel if you look closely. The padding between the buttons is just a little bit less. I could have like 2 rows of stack panels like this, like that. I don't think that'll be a bad idea. So let's go ahead. well, we don't need the scroll viewer, so I'll just grab two carousel. Wait, am I doing this right? Yeah, so I'm gonna just grab the stack panel. I'm gonna take out some of the buttons. Like this. Because I only really need like two, is it two in a row? I forgot, I think it is. Let me see, so we've got one button there, spacer, one button there, spacer, let's get rid of the rest. Okay, that looks about right. And then let's rename this. Spelled reals wrong. See if I can just correct that. Oh, that's strange. Anyway. Carousel stack panel. Let's just change this naming. Featured reel. One. And it's a button. So I would like to write button for just rule of thumb. I think I did something wrong there. Oh, it's actually the first one is a stack panel. I did that wrong. Feature reel stack panel. Stack panel. Feature reel button. 1, and I'm gonna rename this to button 2. Like so. And what I'll do, I would like to take a bit of creative liberty and alter the size of my buttons. So I will increase the width. Let's say 180. How does that look? Maybe like 220. 220 might be kind of cool. So reduce this. Okay. Corner radius looks quite nice. The little curvature doesn't look too bad. And then zooming out a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. Feature game stack panel. I'm gonna add another stack panel. Stack panel there. Change the names. There's no clash. Feature stack panel. So I'm just changing the names. I'm just essentially adding another row, as we can see here. There's a row here and there's a row here. So I'm going to just do that now. And then I'm going to go back up, and that should kind of be the main part of our viewport for the top landing page. Let's call that, it should actually be 3 and 4, I think. 3, 4, that's the up 2. As far as the naming convention goes. And I do need an overarching scroll viewer for the whole landing page. So if we look at our nesting, we have a view box containing a stack panel. What may not go amiss is to actually contain a scroll viewer, if I'm not mistaken. Just one scroll viewer within the view box containing our stack panel containing our other items. Let me see how that pans out. Okay, that seems okay. And let's give this a name. First part comment here. Main landing page scroll viewer. Probably going to zoom in. It looks hard to read the text. Main landing page scroll viewer. Oops, that's not correct. That's better. I'll leave some space here. Add some dimensions. So X name. Add some properties here. Landing page SV for scroll viewer. Height. I find the height of the scroll viewer should be within the bounds of the viewport. And if you want it to kind of infinite scroll or to kind of scroll items that go beyond the viewport, it needs to be that the items themselves within the scroll viewer has to clip outside the bounds rather than having a considerably large scroll viewer. That's what I find works better, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to see 900. I'm going to say width 200. I'm just going to stretch out. So now it seems like I've lost a bit of form. So I'm going to see what the issue is here. Stack panel, images. Just going to zoom out ever so slightly because I have a couple ways I'm thinking of dealing with this. Okay, fair enough. So this, I just want to make sure I'm keeping the nesting consistent. So my scroll viewer has an encompassing stack panel inside of the scroll viewer. So as long as I expand the stack panel within the scroll viewer properly, all the child elements should follow suit. And I'll just expand the width as well. I have indeed lost a bit of form. Even the resolution looks a bit different. I'm not too sure what's going on there. That shouldn't be a problem. Sometimes happens. So let's see. Scroll viewers here. I'm actually gonna leave a bit of a margin there. So I want to see the image here. Okay. I'm not 100% sure how this is going to turn out when I run it, because it seems like the resolution has kind of changed or something after I introduced the scroll viewer. I'm not too sure what happened there. It's not really a problem. I'll just accommodate by adjusting my parameters, or rather my properties. It could just be my imagination. Where's the carousel buttons? Say like 200, 20, might be quite sensible. I'm gonna expand the stack panel. Interesting stuff. Yeah, not too bad, I guess. What's the horizontal alignment on this? It's there, even. Okay, stretch this out. That's my scroll view, I believe. Let's see if this helps. Let's first center it, see what happens. Okay, that's fine. Maybe working with central horizontal alignments is the simplest way to deal with this. That's the stack panel itself. Just so I can see what's going on, I'm gonna give this a color. Say dark gray. Ah, okay. Okay, I see what's going on. So my scroll viewer was just not in the right dimension. There was a bit of clipping there because my the child element within the scroll viewer was larger than the scroll viewer itself. So I had some weird clipping stuff going on. And I'll just revert this to white. And I'll proceed to adjust the height width of my carousel items, the button controls. Okay, so I've got 200 and 420, 200 and 420. All right. Okay, carousel's there, looking okay. Kind of clips a little bit, but that's fine. That's kind of the effect we want. Top games, gonna go ahead and see if I can just bring this out a little bit. The text is really small, so I'm gonna go ahead, click on not that one, but this tab, text. I don't like this Seagull font. I'm gonna go for band script as I usually do these days. Let's see, 48. And maybe I'll just shift the text a little bit to the left. Okay, that's actually not. This looks alright. And we'll get this, which I think is another stack panel. It's the featured items, featured titles. This is the one I want. And I'll just set the height and width. Let me say like 620, even more than that, 900. There's still quite a bit of negative space there. I don't know how this is going to look when I deploy it. I'm just hoping the resolution is all okay across the, as I deploy the app. I'm just kind of designing things first before I do that. Height, let's go for 500, way too much. 220, looks okay. Actually, I'm going to round down to 200. Okay. As for the buttons in here, you know what? Good old drag. And I'll just round the numbers here. So let's make the height 200. Let's make the width 370. I'll just copy that. And then I'll just adjust the stack panel. This. And then what I would like to do, you know what, I'm gonna actually just copy and paste the stack panel again, rather than change the dimensions twice, just to save a little bit of time. Just have to change the naming. So stack panel 2 with items 3 and 4, rows 3 and 4. And my featured stack panel is actually off screen. So this one here, I think it's off screen. So if I were to, for example, extend this, it's clipping. Let's see if this works. I'm not too sure about this. And if I go and try and highlight this stack panel in here, it doesn't seem to be showing. Scroll viewer, unless I do need to expand the scroll viewer. No, I'm not gonna do that. Leave it like that. Don't think I have to. Text block. I just want to double check to make sure the stack panel is doing alright. Okay, it's all the way there. Let me check the margin quickly. If it's there, put the left. Just reset everything to 0 to be safe. It's a really wide margin, but the top margin is fine, so I'm not sure why there's a huge gap. Get the vertical alignment to top, see what happens. It's very fascinating. See if I can fix that. So just quickly expand that. I have my encompassing stack panel with the majority of my landing page controls. Scroll viewer, featured text block, text, stack panel for the featured items. But this large gap is bugging me. I'm not too sure what's going on. Let's see. What will happen if I try and put something like a text block here? Yeah, still a little bit of a space. Something is not right. So what I'm going to do is bring everything in. So what am I highlighting? The stack panel. I'm going to put it like here. Scroll viewer is looking fine. Stack panels out there in the abyss. I'm not too sure why. Here's my initial scroll viewer and grid and viewbox. Are they looking alright? Everything is fairly within reason. Let's delete this for now. I'm not too sure what's going on. Might be a property that I'm not setting correctly. Just a little bit of padding here. I'm going to reduce the heights to like 40. And if I just quickly look at this image, it's kind of clipping, I think. My scroll viewer, my stack panel is clipping a little bit. So just that. The image is clipping, just the image. Scroll viewer. Okay, so again, it's still rough. I'm still working on it. We're still on our way. So let's have a look at the actual. Let's deploy this. Run it without debugging. Hopefully, it will just go right. And then we still got ways to go. Let's wait for that to run. Nowhere near finished yet. Coffee's kind of gone cold now. Anyway, how are we doing for time? Approaching that hour mark. We keep going. We're gonna keep going until we get the general layout fairly set. It's the first time I'm loading it, so it might take a little bit longer to build. So let's have a little rundown as to where I am. Design, done the grid, view box, scroll view, and stack panel stuff. As far as the general landing page goes. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go back to that. Just gonna quickly exit this. And we're basically setting the general layout. So we can just follow through with the agenda. Sweet. So it might be a little bit hard to see because of the color scheme, but we have this kind of bare bones scroll viewing. As you can see, I'm going up and down. There's not much leeway there because there's nothing much to actually scroll underneath. So the scroll viewer is not expanding that much. The image you won't be able to see because I haven't put an image up there yet. I've got my carousel, which I believe I did put the scroll viewing for that, but it looks like I've set it the wrong way. The orientation should be horizontal, not vertical, because I'm scrolling and it's going up and down. So I'll go ahead and rectify that. But so far, so good. Let's see. Featured scroll viewer. Did I set the orientation wrong? Probably. Or rather, it has to be vertical scroll bar visibility. Let's disable it. And then the horizontal scroll bar visibility, it will be invisible for the horizontal scroll. Couldn't break it. Let's put that in like this. Where are the buttons? The buttons, I can barely see them myself. Let me just see if I can just change the color so I can see what's going on there. Red. Yeah, it's not showing up for some reason. Okay, cool. Fix that. Or is it because of the image? The brush was actually okay before I did that. Make sure I can. I'm going to zoom in as well because I just looked at my OBS session. It's quite hard for you guys to see that. It's going to quickly run this again just so I can evaluate if I have to adjust for the buttons for the carousel. They seem to have disappeared somewhere. Yeah, they've vanished. I can see these ones here, but I can't see this one. Not too sure what's going on there, so I'm going to quickly check my scroll viewer. It happened when I did this. Yeah, not too sure what's going on with that. Shouldn't really make a difference, I think. Gonna align it properly if I can. Let me check to see if. Let me just put on center. And vertical alignment. Hopefully this works a little bit. And I'm going to disable the vertical scroll visibility. It keeps doing that. Okay, I'm going to stretch this out, see what's going on. Oh, very fascinating. Well, I know that breaks it, so I'm going to leave it for now. I have the horizontal scroll visibility there, so I'm going to once again check this. Not too sure why the disabling the vertical visibility of the scroll bar functionality will actually result in the controls disappearing. Kind of strange, but as long as I can go left and right, otherwise we might need a workaround. No, it's still going up and down, no problem. I do have a plan B just in case that doesn't want to work with me right now. That kind of touches on this, which if I show you, this kind of carousel scrolling as a programmatic functionality for this carousel. But instead of making it automatic, it will be button press instead of a scroll bar. And it might be good as well because then it will kind of be more in line with what this carousel does. It's not a scroll viewer. If you look carefully here, there's a scroll bar, as you can see on the right, the UI. But for this, it's more button operated. So let me not try and be too lazy in that front. I will actually I will consider getting rid of the scroll viewer altogether there for the carousel. As long as nothing breaks. Let's see now, how can I do this? I'll just delete it. Choose the right scroll viewer. Worst case, I'll just undo it, and the carousel scrolling will be done via the C# logic. Funny how that goes. Fix this. Okay, I did that wrong. So this stack panel is for the carousel. Where does this tag end? Okay, cool. Don't know why there's so much negative space there. And let's make that 400. Let's go check this. Vertical alignment's already at the top. Interesting stuff. Just gonna play around with this so I can see how I can fix this. Worst case, I'm very tempted to just reconstruct it again. I have a suspicion, and this happened to me before, in that when I copied and pasted arbitrary markup, there was some almost like properties pertaining to the resolution of that project that was kind of affecting this, but I'm not too sure if that's it. That's just me thinking out loud. Just rectify this. And this is what I'm concerned with. So just up to the stack panel. So I want to take out the text block, stack panel. I'm going to cut it and put it on my clipboard. And I'm going to just check this. Orientation is horizontal. This one should be vertical. Image, stack panel. Now I'm going to see if I can add another control without issue. It's getting this large deficit here. I'm not too sure why. It's very much bugging me. Might have to implement a little workaround in that I might introduce another control underneath, and just to see what's going on with that negative space. Therefore, I just encompass this. Yeah, it's something to do with the scaling. It's completely off. Okay. You know what might help? Setting dimensions even when you think you don't need to. Scroll viewer here. I'm gonna actually expand for now. That's for. See if I can't expand that to full screen for now. Just so I can flesh out what's going on. I'm gonna expand this to full screen too. Okay, fair enough. What would happen if I have another stack panel in here? Still get that strange deficit, which I'm not liking at all. Something is definitely wrong. It's even making me reconsider my nesting options. Check something off screen quickly. Okay, I have an idea. I'm going to introduce another grid within my viewbox so this grid is going to hopefully achieve what I'm setting out to kind of control the scaling within my viewbox. Okay. So if I look at the nesting, I have the image, I have the carousel. Still have that deficit there. Let's see if I can fix that. I'm not 100% sure why that's doing that. stack panel, the image. Just looping through my nesting, making sure I've done everything okay. Obviously missed something. Screen quickly. Not sure. In this scenario, give this a try. I'm going to attempt to contain my scroll view in a stack panel. I'm just basically looking at some of my notes, how I achieve the nesting to get the consistency. Just don't want it to get too messy as I'm quite keen to move on, but I do have to kind of fix this. Here's my image. I'll give this 2 more minutes and then I'm going to go to plan B. Which shouldn't be the worst option in the world. But I will literally take some of my other placeholder markup and see how that fares. And actually, I'm gonna note the discrepancies. So what's going on here? I'm having some issue with scaling, not too sure how to solve it. I'm kind of conscious of time, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna work with what I've got. Off screen. And I just see what happens like this. Oh, that's very strange. Okay, let's go with that. Let's go with that. I'm a little suspicious with some of my scaling here. I just want to see if there's any strange discrepancies. Let's get rid of this one. Ba-da-ba-ba-da. Interesting. It seems fairly consistent. Not too sure why this is off because I've set my resolution off. Okay, sweet. Not a problem. Okay, save that. I'll be right back, guys. Yeah, alright, I'm back. Sorry about this slight interlude, guys. Now, I'm quite determined to see what's going on with this markup. Try and adjust everything to make it uniform here. Stack panel. Spend about 5 minutes trying to solve this. If not, I will just swiftly move on. Because it seemed after I deleted my encompassing scroll viewer for my stack panel here, I think it was, kind of some strange scaling stuff going on, not too sure why. gonna go ahead and add a text block. Just to get in this weird effect. Interesting. That's my image control. Dare say I'm gonna move this. No, yeah, keep that for now. I want to test something. Now, will this text block be within reasonable bounds? So just trying to, I'm being very nitpicky here. Trying to sort a formatting issue that's come up where there's like a huge margin at the bottom of my screen, and I'm very stubborn in the sense that when things like that happen, I don't like leaving it up in the air at all. So I'll do my best to solve that so we can move on. Because the idea here is I have an encompassing scroll viewer with a stack panel, and I'll just quickly check. It's vertical, so it's meant to stack the items going down, starting with the image, carousel, and hopefully without, I'm not sure if there's still going to be that weird, I don't know what this is here. There's a bit of an offset there. Still doing it. Okay. I'm going to have to work around that. No problem. Got my Notepad++ off screen. Just gonna back my work up so I can access it if I need it later. And let's play CSharp. So I'm not 100% sure why the markup was being funny as it was. So what I'm going to do is just literally start. We didn't get that far anyway, guys. So what I'll do, I'll start from the grid again. Share this. I have to keep flickering. Perhaps this might open the door to a new way of looking at this. Might be some more opportunities. Sweet, let's get started. Let's not waste time. Interesting stuff, right? So I'm at 200% scale. Let's just hope we don't run into that kind of, I will call it a glitch, to be honest, because it was kind of unexpected on my part. Couldn't work around it directly. Just give this a quick height and width. 200 should be right. Let's put it out. Yeah, that looks alright. Looks fine. I'll expand my view box. Gonna keep things as simple as I can. One child for one view box. At a high level, what I see here is one encompassing scroll viewer. Let's just hold this. Height 1000. Width, I'm gonna keep it at like, I don't know, 800. And then here, I'm gonna introduce a stack panel of similar dimensions. A little bit of leeway there. And yeah, let's start from the top, shall we? So we have an image control. You know what I'm gonna do, guys? I like the fact, I was gonna say that this kind of parallaxes and there's a bit of overlay here. Why don't I just start with the carousel part? So within my stack panel, and I can overlay the image afterwards. So stack panel, stack panel, stack panels, because why not? Heights, let's say like something like 100. Width, 1000. Go ahead and adjust this. I get this scroll viewer, and I'm actually gonna okay, so I think the way it responds to being in the view box, it kind of sticks to the overarching dimensions of the view box. It's not quite what I want, but it's what we're going to work with. Now the question for me is, can I overlap through the scroll viewer with the stack panel? I think I can. I'm guessing I can't nudge this down, can I? It's quite sticky. Like this. Main page stack panel. Main page scroll viewer. No, instead of an image, I'm gonna use image control within it. I think this can work. I'm not 100% sure about that. Yeah, it's fine. So you can see what the button is, why but featured. See, I want to write a feature title, button, header, something like that. So stack panel is gonna have some button controls for the carousel itself. Let's make this dim gray. I'll change the size. And let's implement a bit of corner radius. I shall copy and paste this button. First, I'll just set the orientation of the stack panel to horizontal. Something like that. And let's see, button. I want a bit of padding in between. So put a padding text block. I want to set the width, if anything. So 40. Just a little bit of space now. It's a bit off screen, but it should be fine. So now I'm going to have another text block. Which now is behaving. It's actually underneath the control. And like the last 30 minutes of me faffing about, it was just on here some reason. That's fine. I'm going to minimize usage of the scroll view. I think it kind of changes things up a little bit. I'm not out yet, so I'm going to speak too soon, hopefully. Let's say text. Check out the latest games. So I'm just trying to reference this bit here. So I'll zoom in so you can see what I'm doing there in the design view. Can change the font to band script. Increase the font to 40. Bold. And you know what? Introduce a little bit of padding between the carousel and the text. Reduce this size a little bit so it's easy for us to see what's going on with the work. So I'll put a space of text block. Don't need to expand it, I'll just set the height to like 20. Hopefully this is reasonable. Okay, 20 doesn't look too bad. I might just make it a little bit more wide there. Bigger space there, I find. Just that gap there. So I've got the button, got the carousel, got the text. I'm almost caught up. I'm gonna make this little column thing. If I go ahead and just kind of expand the size, it doesn't just go down. It's kind of fuller view. It's like a row of items. This right now is 3 by it's row of 2 times 3. Or 3 times 2. So I'll go ahead and drag this space of text block. Add another one here. Some padding. And I'm going to introduce another stack panel. Like so. Set dimensions, heights, 40. Maybe more like 220. That's actually a bit too much. I'm going to say 180. And the width. What am I working with here? It's about 1120 roughly. Just to estimate the width there. Gonna have to make sure everything's okay. Oh, I just realized there's a bit of a gap here. Bring the storefront back. Okay, so I can see what I'm doing here. And then I'll put some buttons. Again, these buttons I will expand so that I can have an image control inside. Where am I? Featured title stack panel. Like this. 340. I'll leave the width at 340 for now. I think that looks okay. I'm gonna set the orientation of my stack panel to horizontal, so I can stack going across. And I'm gonna make multiple buttons here. Maybe like 3 are going across. And I'll grab this spacer text block. And I'll just plop it in between my controls. But I'll change height for width this time. A little aggressive there, so I'll turn it down to 20. Place a spacer between the buttons. To introduce some padding. Do these buttons have a corner radius? I don't think so. Let's introduce a corner radius. I kind of like really curved, so let's 20. Go a little bit aggressive on that. I think it's just better like this. It's just easier for all of us to see. What was I? And then I'm gonna just unclip it so we can actually see what's going on there. Like so. So what I'll do for the buttons, I'll just copy these properties, like so. And it doesn't look too bad. So I got my main scroll viewer, encompassing stack panel, featured button, stack panel with the carousel, bit of space there, featured games, title. Padding, I've got another row of items. A little bit apprehensive to do this, but I'm going to give it a try anyway. Games 1. Games 2, which is actually off screen, so we can't really see it, which is completely fine. It's within the scroll view if I'm not mistaken, so I should be able to expose the bottom bit. Another spacer text block. Let me just copy this one, just change for the height. Just use a little bit of padding. Oops. Change width for heights, and I'll go a little bit more aggressive there, so let's just say like 55. It's fairly reasonable. Alright guys, let's have a quick look, see what I've done so far. I had to catch up there, so I had to restart basically from scratch, only because I had a bit of a weird anomaly going on. It's okay. I'm quite keen to move on to the next part. While we wait for that, let's see where we are up to. I think what might not go amiss now is to kind of focus on some of the stylistic aspects, so we can kind of, not to kind of finish the effect, to finish rather the design, should I say, but to rather give us even more of a visual framework as to what we're doing. Scaling looks interesting, to say the least. Okay, I'm liking the overall framework itself. It's there. It's definitely there. Gonna introduce some padding there in between the featured image and the bottom carousel. Might stretch out the scroll viewer, but yeah, it's actually coming along fairly nicely. Bar the fact that it's the resolution, I think I've left it at 200%. I have. So if you look here, 200%, but I'm not gonna change that because I'm a little worried that I might get some weird issues. So I'm gonna leave it at 200%. My monitor's fairly big, so it's fine when it's maximized. So I'll just copy and paste a space text block because I'm a little lazy. Button. I'll put the spacer just here. To round that down to 50. Nice whole number. No, 50 was not a whole number, but 50 is just kind of rounded, I guess. Okay, I'm liking this. Scroll viewer. Maybe I can play with this a little bit. Let's see if I can just leave that out. I want to change the text font. In gray. Okay, let's see. Where's my stack panel bounds? Alright, it's a little bit more than that. Scroll viewer. Stretch that out a little bit. Scroll down. Just appreciate that it's hard to read that. And maybe it might not go miss for me to stretch this out, but I kind of like how it looks like this. It's kind of centered. I like that. Alright, stretch this out a little bit more. I'm gonna go ahead and grab some images, just some general placeholder images, random pictures, random game box arts and stuff. Let's see what we can do here. I haven't gone to my image editor, so in terms of resolution of the images, they're all assorted, which is actually quite fine. I'll just do with them. I think I got like 17 pictures. Just all Google search images, really. Nothing fancy. Drop these in the assets folder. For the sake and intents of this video, keep things quick. Let's see. This is gonna pan out because I have not tried it yet, but I'm gonna go for this button at the source. That's the assets folder. Okay, doesn't look too bad. I'll just change the opacity of the button. I'm gonna reduce it slightly. Obviously, like if this was a real app I was building, you would probably generate these images dynamically. But this is just a workshop for dealing with the XAML and stuff, so we're gonna just kind of plop it in there. Let's change the stretch format. Set that uniform to fill. I think it's quite a safe bet. Well, actually, let's try fill. Yeah, I think that's better. Bearing in mind the resolution is going to be a little bit all over the place. problem. Let's see what I can do here. Just a corner radius, just kind of smooth out the corners. Let's make it a bit aggressive so it can click into the image itself, hopefully. Okay, not that aggressive. 200, let's read it back from this. 100, 90, let's go to like 70. I don't think that looks too bad. Okay. Let me check what I've got here. Now I'm gonna go for some box art in the carousel. These are just random games. There's no real context here in this fictitious app. Up front. Grab this. And I'm just gonna adjust for the images themselves. So let's see if I go back up, change the first picture. Do I think is an old Dreamcast game? I'm gonna select the box art that I have, the graphic that is. But I think the extension is a JPEG. So it comes out. Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Let's see for this one. I have another. As you can probably tell, I'm kind of into the Dreamcast games. That's not really the point of the video, but as you can see, I've got this SA2, Sonic Adventure 2 from Dreamcast. Love this game. You know, I played the GameCube version. This is a tangent, but I played the GameCube version. But yeah, the Dreamcast version is kind of a masterpiece. I've also got Soul Calibur 1 on Dreamcast. So I have a bit of an affinity to Dreamcast, as you can tell. But yeah, this is a graphic. When I saw this, right, I already played Soul Calibur 2, mind you, but I was blown away by the graphics. The Dreamcast was quite an impressive system. That was just a little cutaway there. I'm not sponsored. Just kidding around. Anyway, let's go. Where am I? So, you know what? I have a virtual tennis box art. Right there. And what other box arts do I have sitting around? Fantasy Star Online 2. Now, here's where I'm going to start probably getting a bit creative, deviating from our reference being the Microsoft Store, so it's not going to be a one-to-one representation, but I'm using it as the name suggests, a reference. This last one is clipped outside the bounds of our container, but it's a Marvelverse Capcom 2 box art, which I hope is PNG. Let me just double check that. Yes. Okay, it's a little bit interesting. And then let's have some more images down here. Once again, I will just grab this, just overwrite this, save on a little bit of time. It saves me having to write repetitive text. And I'll just change the picture that I select. Oops, let me just get rid of that. I meant to do Control S. Where am I? What have we got here? I've got this interesting Mario Kart Deluxe thumbnail. which if you haven't played Mario Kart in the arcades, it's very fun. I think it's Mario Kart Arcade GP Deluxe. And I've got another box art as well, in the same vein. Let's go ahead and pop that there. And let's put something in the middle. What do I have? Let's keep the Sonic theme, shall we? And I believe this is a JPEG. Change that. No? Is it not? Sonic R, what was it? Screenshot. Oh, it's this weird JFIT. I don't even know if it will come up. Let's have a look. Yeah, I thought not. Okay, I'm not going to use that one. The one. Okay, got a bit of a virtual console going on here. So using my reference again, so I don't have to go for my imagination. I want to introduce a bit of padding at the top for space for maybe like a menu, and then, very importantly, the search bar. So if I look at the encompassing control containing the majority of this landing page, it tends to be, it looks like it's this scroll viewer. Now I don't know if this will react as I want, not quite. In that when I try to introduce padding, it's not really agreeing with me. It's within the bounds, which is fine. That's exactly right. So rather, what I'm going to play with is the stack panel. As this is at the top, I would simply just introduce some padding. So let's say spacer, text block, text block, close the tag, and I'll just give it a arbitrary height of like 90. That way we've introduced a bit of padding, which we can then implement in this space like our search bar, which I'll probably do in a hot minute. Give that like 120. You know what I would like to do? I would actually like to put another spacer but this time I'm going to go much less aggressive on the size. Let's make it like 20. And in between the two spaces, I'm going to put my search bar. I'm thinking a horizontally oriented stack panel, so that I can have like the logo, the search bar, and maybe like a profile icon. I'll say stack panel, expand it. I'll say height 40, probably just a little bit more like 60. Width, what's this width? Let me have a quick check. It's about 1330. 1330. Let me just say, can I title this comment? Top. No. Search bar. Top icons. Like so. I'll just quickly set the orientation to horizontal. And then I'll start putting some items. So let's put a text box to start with. Close the tag, because I don't really need to expand this. Search field TB for text box. Width. Now I don't want it to be the full width, so I'm going to do something like 900. But then to kind of space this in the middle, I can implement a spacer. I change height for width. I'll just expand it ever so slightly. Let's say like 90. That'd be reasonable. So that's 90 there. Like so. I have a bit of placeholder text in there as well. Search for a game. Again, I'm going to change this. I'm going to change the font. I don't like the Seagull. Increase the font size. Let's say like 36. I'm going to change the paragraph spacing. Oh, I just noticed you can't really see from there because I'm blocking the view. I'm just in the properties panel. I'm going to put this to the center. That looks a little bit better in my opinion. Alright, where am I? Let's put a bit of a, is that corner radius? Excellent. 14. I'm really liking this curvature thing going on. Let's go for 18. Did I put a full stop there? I don't like that. If I did. No, I didn't. Okay. Alright. It's got a heavy bit of padding between the bar and the featured banner. I don't think it needs to be that much. So I'm gonna just reduce this a little bit. In fact, to the point where I'm sort of teasing these games here, I'm kind of telling the user, scroll me down. See what's there. Let's just make sure everything is somewhat consistent. I'm going to go ahead and just launch this. Now the thing is, because I'm going at 200% scale, chances are that it's only going to look uniform when I am full screen. Otherwise, I should probably go to 100% scale or less. But because I've already started this, I'm going to continue at 200% scale. Just kind of maximizing things. And okay, I kind of like the direction. This has to be moved to the right a little bit. Okay, we have a workable canvas here. We have a workable canvas. What wouldn't go amiss is obviously if you kind of use your imagination to disregard the resolution of the images. I'm considering implementing masking. Now the thing is, if I want to put a fade mask, the easiest way would be to just use my image editor. I want to see what the Microsoft Store does, if they do anything like that. A little bit. You can see a bit of a faded masking effect here. Otherwise, they make use of icons a lot, I've noticed just now. There's a lot of icons in these cars. They're not fully fledged images. Except for the carousel. Let's aim for that. Let's aim for this kind of card with the encompassing information inside it. Kind of icon view. I just noticed it now. I'm also going to go a little bit more aggressive on the corner radius here to just force a bit of clipping on the sides. Some more elegant ways to go about this. Okay. Where's the button? Make a little bit of space so I can work with this. We're going to be focusing here. Now I want to work within the bounds of my XAML. So if I have here my feature titles containing a button, all within a stack panel. I'm wondering if there's any generic controls I could use.